All right. Oh, hey. Citi Field is our spot today. I'm Glenn Crooks, Matty Lawrence here. And another sunshiny day. Last week in the Bronx, this week in Queens. And the New York City FC Network, our live commentary will begin at 4:45. The New York City FC Network, English and Spanish commentary. Along the way here on our New York City pregame live, we'll have the lineups for you for New York City FC as soon as it's published. I just spoke to Ronnie Dyla, and we'll disclose it as we move along here. But Maddie, I have to first give a birthday shout out.
Yes, you do.
Here she is, my daughter Morgan. Look at her. And she is the coolest kid of all time, if I do say so myself.
Well, apart from my daughters.
I suppose we all feel that way. But she's really a cool kid. So, Morgan, happy birthday. Sorry I can't be with you, but this is the next best thing, right? A live stream?
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
And it's interesting to be at a different location again.
It is. And we have a good view of the field. And again, we're sort of behind home plate as the Mets would play. And, interestingly enough, just spoke to Ronnie, and the only other time he's been in the park was for a Mets game.
Okay.
There was no training on this field, he's walked into this Citi Field, the park, the stadium, for just the second time today. So
it's interesting that they won't. I assumed they'd both be allowed to train on it. Toronto last night and NYCFC, but no, that wasn't. I think
the choice was just not to train, and not sure why that decision was, but nonetheless, or maybe they couldn't, and or maybe for some reason Toronto couldn't. So I'm sure it's one of those situations where either both train or none at all, and that's maybe New York City chose not to train, and then Toronto couldn't train.
Exactly.
It's hard to say what the reasoning for that could have been. So, okay. So we've got the birthday greetings out. Setting the scene here is outside of Citi Field. They have this big trailer, and they did a fan fest, a pretty cool thing. They were showing the MLS trophy, so it seemed like a lot of people were going through there. But here, it's New York City coming off the 6-0 win against RSL. Toronto, they handed Philadelphia the Union's first loss of the year. So, and are unbeaten in 4 coming into this under a guy who you'd have to call a legendary figure in the coaching ranks here in the United States, Bob Bradley.
Yeah, I think he's a legendary figure within the US, but I think he's a good coach anywhere else. I don't think he got treated particularly kindly, obviously, back in England.
Swansea.
And that is, partially us English people's fault. I don't think he was given a chance. I know you have to win games of football to be treated well, whether you're English, Italian, American. I know he didn't have a great time there, but I thought he was treated despicably.
So you weren't offended when he called a penalty a PK? I mean, I remember the onslaught just based on that. But here's a guy that's called it football for the last 25 years. He's had all these influences.
It didn't make any difference to me, but I do think that's because I'm ingratiated in American culture as well, right. Because I came to university here. I do know that lots of, maybe not friends back home, but I do know that many English people and acquaintances of mine did ridicule him saying that, because that's almost that's how we are. We're very jingoistic about it. And I do think American coaches have had a bad rap. American players have done fantastically in the Premier League, the likes of McBride and Howard and Dempsey, and I could go on, Eddie Lewis.
Yeah.
And I think Jesse Marsch is doing relatively well, at Leeds United. So hopefully if he can keep Leeds up as well, American coaches, or he'll have maybe, led the route, Jesse Marsch, maybe for American coaches as well. But yes, Bob Bradley, legendary figure. No surprise, I guess, that he's doing well here.
No, and he did well with the U.S. men's national team in Egypt. He provided a good fielding there with the Egypt national team. And, he's a Jersey guy, and I've always been appreciative of Bob. And I'm just going to try to get those messages to stop dinging. I don't know how. If it's not one thing, it's another, Hey, but let's go back to this RSL match. So I'm going to play a couple of commentary highlights. This one was put together by Tanner Smith and Digital.
Because all he needs to do is head the ball down and it's a goal.
It's a save, though, from McMath. And another header! This time it is a goal off the corner kick! And it's Tati Castellanos getting his first in 2022 in the MLS regular season. And moments after Thiago had his header saved by McMath, this time Castellanos answers. Nice little toe poke down the flank to Tyler Spagno. Looks to play it into space. There's Thiago. Can he get it off? And it's 2-0 New York City FC! Brazilian to Brazilian. They've got a little samba going over in the left corner, and the celebration ensues. And now New York City, first half lead is 2-0 over Real Salt Lake. Approaches the ball, stutter step, and City leads 3-0. McMath dives to his right. Castellanos places it to the opposite side. This season, his 327th. And nice through ball now to Thiago Andrade. One-on-one with the keeper. And it's a brace for Thiago and a 4-0 lead for New York City. McGrath coming off his line. Thiago from outside the area just drilled it past the RSL keeper. Foul. He approaches the ball. Which way will he go? And McGrath got a hand on it, but it still goes into the back of the net. Tati went to his left this time, and now it's 5-0 New York City. Castellanos with a hat trick. On Ruiz this time. And McMath scuffs it. Here's the shot. Oh, Tati Castellanos, serendipity. McMath cleared the ball right to Castellanos at the top of the box. His shot was deflected by Orozco, but it still managed to just topple into the net as McMath was backpedaling furiously to see if he could get a hand on it. 4 goals for Castellanos. And New York City now up 6-0. And yeah, well, 4 goals turned out to be the single game record for New York City. New York City tying a team record with the 6 goals. They had defeated DC United last year 6-0. And I've got something more with you on here too, Matty. And there wasn't much of Matty Lawrence there. You know, it was just me.
I'm quite happy not listening to myself. It's okay.
But there was but just your comment first about the game. And, I think sometimes, I think oftentimes when New York City's struggling, we try to really dissect what's wrong with them and not maybe give the credit. This is me personally, give the opponent credit enough. And in this case, was RSL that poor, or did New York City just cause most of what happened?
I think RSL caused a lot of their own problems, for sure. Even in those little clips we saw, McMath, the goalkeeper, certainly the second penalty he should have saved. The Castellanos tapping in front of the open goal, he gave the ball away. But I wouldn't want to just credit it all to RSL being so terrible. They were dreadful, they were poor, but NYCFC helped make them be poor. Let's not forget NYCFC had only scored 1 goal in 4 games, the 4 coming against Montreal. So they were struggling with goals. So you have to credit NYCFC with keeping on going. At 3-0 quite often as a player, you can almost stop. It's 3-0, you've won the game. Ronnie Dyler could rest, make as many substitutions as possible. But they kept on going, and I think that was great to see. Of course, it's great that Castellanos scored. I didn't mind whether he scored 1, 2, 3 or 4 as he did.
Yeah.
He needed to get his confidence back in MLS play. I think I'd commented a number of times on him almost trying too hard. Yeah. We know that there's never going to be a lack of effort from him. That's the one thing. Now he's full of confidence as well.
And now he's 1 goal behind the leaders for the Golden Boot after 1 match.
Exactly. And he is.
There was all this concern about defending his Golden Boot, and now he's right there.
Look, he's the best centre forward in the league. That's for certain. And I hope he stays as, you may as well just say, I hope he stays for as long as we have him. I know that's almost a silly comment.
Well, true. He might not have that opportunity for the Golden Boot this year because he may be playing for another club.
I just think that almost defensively, he leads the team as well. You defend from the front, and his tireless work throughout. Yes, he gets credit for the goals, but it's his work off the ball as well that I really enjoy too. And he'll be good for whichever team he goes to, whether it's a River Plate, whether it's Palmeiras, whether it's a side in Europe. He's a very good player, and I hope that he continues to develop. I don't know him that well, but he seems like a guy who is willing to be that sponge, take things on and learn. He certainly doesn't think, you see some young players and they think they're already the finished product. I don't think he thinks that. I think he wants to go on and on and on and learn and learn and learn.
When you watch him train, that is the way he goes at it. All right, there was a moment here. Look, we've talked about second assists before, and it's rather annoying. I think we could safely say MLS is the second assist league now. But if you're going to give them out so liberally, and I wondered over the years, man, I wondered what you think as a former professional. Let's just watch the Thiago goal and then one of your comments, and then I'll follow up.
A nice through ball now to Thiago Andrade. 1-on-1 with the keeper, and it's a brace for Thiago and a 4-0 lead for New York City. McGrath coming off his line. Thiago from outside the area just drilled it past the RSL keeper.
It's a terrific ball from Santi Rodriguez, but that South American triumvirate once again, the young talented player. Santi Rodriguez is the player who touches or passes the ball in, but Tyler's Magno as well. He jumps out the way of the ball. It's almost a little dummy.
So almost a little dummy. So if a player is aware and dummies the ball, draws a defender, and a guy on the other end finishes, isn't that assist worthy?
Well, it certainly is in MLS. They'll give assists to anybody. Look,
no, but they don't give that one.
I know,
but
of course, they don't give that. But the secondary assist when somebody passes the ball 5 yards sideways and they give him.
Thiago Martins has an assist. Remember, he gave it to Alfredo Morales in the Toronto match for the Everton.
You're asking the wrong person, because I think it's nonsensical. A second assist. I think you can give assists if somebody does well and then provides the through ball. But we've seen assists. Was it the Thiago when he ran 60 yards and Sean Johnson bowled the ball out to him, and Sean Johnson gets an assist? That's ridiculous. It's absolutely nonsensical. But I know what MLS are doing as well. They're trying to get more people getting more assists, so the numbers increase, so they can say that so-and-so got 25 assists this year. But again, you're asking the wrong person. I will judge a goal on its merit and players on their merit. I don't need to look at stats specifically. Okay, but again, that's me being English.
I just love the awareness of letting the ball run.
Yeah, totally. And so yes, if we're going to say that, of course, that would be the
primary. That could be the primary assist then.
Tyler Magno could easily have he had the quality to take the ball in his stride.
Right.
And so yes, he should have an assist. But yes, he won't be granted one. But
okay.
Yeah,
it's not that big a deal.
It's
something I've thought about all over the years and just wondered. If you're going to give out assists, like on the college level, there's more second assists than even MLS. So, what do you think of there's a new college rule: no overtime in the regular season and no more golden goals. I mean, you've been out of the college game for a while, but you've observed it a little bit with your friend Ian up at Syracuse.
My friend Carl's at Fairfield.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know that was coming in.
Yeah,
that's
I
quite
happening.
Like that. So it will just be a draw.
It'll be a draw, and then when you get to tournament time, both full overtime periods will be played. No golden goal, no sudden death.
Yeah, I like that.
Right,
I'm
too.
not a big fan of golden goal.
Okay, so Matt likes that. He doesn't like second assists. Okay, all right, we're on the record now. And in just a couple of minutes, by the way, Chris Sakonis, we have a report from him. Opposition analysis a little bit, including a clip or two from Bob Bradley. That's coming up in a moment. But first, Keaton Parks. I spoke to Keaton during the week, and he had a real serious operation with this blood clot, and something that first and foremost was just his health and just recovering in a way where there were no major issues in his life. So he's back playing now, and he's playing at a high level. I think we both thought he played pretty well against Toronto. Here's what he thought about his Toronto performance and where he's come.
It was a game, just observing the way you play, that you looked as smooth and as comfortable maybe as we've seen you. So did you feel the same way?
I felt pretty good. I felt the best I have all season. But at the same time, I still feel like I have that much more to give. So I'm going to keep working on it and really get to my full potential, my 100%. But I did feel good, and I'm happy that it showed. And obviously, the team helps me play good too. So,
what's the biggest thing missing from your game? Is it acceleration? Is it the ability to go right or left? What aspect of your game is not up to your standard?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint. I think it could just be mentally. Like I said, I talked to the coaches, and they said I've been performing well, and especially this last game, they're happy with the performance. But something for me mentally, like it just didn't seem, or I guess I didn't feel like myself. Maybe I felt a little bit slow. So I just think I can give that much more.
All right. So he doesn't feel like himself yet, and he can't play a full match yet, it doesn't seem, or at least they're not pushing him to that level. But if you look, and I've got it in my notes, just each game, the minutes have increased a little bit.
I think it's difficult for a footballer when they have a non-football. It was a health matter. I don't want to go into it too much, but we know what happened to him. I think mentally it's the key, and he says it himself. He can't perform to the best of his ability till he feels good, and probably feels good enough within his own body. And only he knows that. You can have all the stats and the analysis in the world, but it's him feeling good enough within himself. But I thought he played very, very well against RSL, and we do know he's a good player, and he's only going to get better and better. And I like that fact as well. The best thing about NYCFC, they've got a bunch of good young players who want to continue to learn. And I think that's imperative. I played with a number of players in my career who at 21 stagnated because they thought they'd made it. They were earning the money and they stopped. They stopped learning. They thought they were the big I am. But I don't think there's many of those players in the NYCFC side.
No, and Parks, one more thing from him. And by the way, this full interview will be heard at halftime of our broadcast for the New York City FC Network, the live commentary coming up. But I kind of asked him after all this if he felt he's changed.
Yeah, a little bit. Even like when I feel like the slightest things now, it almost scares me a little bit more than it used to, thinking that it could be more serious than it is, like this was. But at the same time, like now that I'm like feeling very good again back on the field, like I'm extremely grateful. I'm just happy for any time I get on the field and in games, and happy to be with the team. I missed a big part of our season last year, so I'm just happy to be back.
Yeah, he misses the MLS Cup run, but it's a real serious injury. I remember seeing him in the hotel at the Portland game, the MLS Cup final, and he said he expected to be back. Doctors told him maybe second week of preseason. That was about right, but you could. The concern still lingers.
Footballers are still human beings, and we forget that sometimes. I remember when I played, I got a concussion, then a secondary concussion, and then I took a month off. Then any time my head got hit, I was really worried about it. So it's the mental aspect of that, and I appreciate the fact that Keaton, he knows that within himself, obviously, and he recognises that as well, that issue. So yeah, it's mental. We know what a good player he is. We know that physically he's pretty much back to where he was, but it's more the mental side of the game. It's tough, as I say. Footballers, sportsmen, sportswomen, they're human beings, and we have to remember. At times, you have to remember that, and that not quite to have feelings, but we have to realise that it's they go through the same struggles as everybody else.
That's been a pretty public item. Where athletes have admitted those, and some people look at it as weaknesses. You called it human, and that's probably more the best way to describe it.
Exactly, and as long as you can recognise it within yourself as well, then you can move on from it, or you can work on it. And Keaton's a smart guy, properly football smart and intellectually smart as well. So it's good to hear him speaking like that.
We're still awaiting. There it is. And Parks will be in the starting lineup. The guy in the midfield next to him. And then let's put this up here. Let me find it real quick. I believe this is it. Yeah, there it is. Acevedo is in the midfield with Parks. And who's playing next to Alexander Collins at the back? It's Alfredo Morales. So the thing there, and that's instead of Vuk Latinovic. And when I had a conversation with Ronnie about this, and he said it was difficult to not choose Latinovic, but he obviously wants the veteran presence of a Morales. He thinks that next to Collins, he'll be fine because Collins is playing at such a high level right now. And he said Acevedo has been very, very sharp in training and expects him to be a good pivot. Really just a pure six today, Acevedo. Don't get forward, just sit in there and break things up and start the attack.
There's a huge reliance, forget Morales playing at centre half, there's a huge reliance on Acevedo to come in and do what Morales does. I think Morales has been playing really well. I thought when he first joined NYCFC, I honestly almost thought, why have they signed him? Because I thought he was playing below his levels. I knew what he'd done in his career, and he was underperforming. I'm sure he'll admit that as well. But now we're seeing his full potential.
And you talk about the human stuff. His family wasn't here. He didn't know exactly where he was going to live. He had played a lot of minutes coming in.
That's what I mean. I know why he was underperforming, but he was underperforming. And again,
for sure.
That's me not judging him as a human. I'm judging him as a sportsman. I know it's if you're not happy off the pitch, it's tough to be happy on the pitch and perform to the best of your ability. such a key element is Acevedo, and whether he can do, the ball winning as well. It's not just about the passing. Morales is really dogged in the middle of midfield. And as we always talk about, so good aerially as well. I know that will help him when he's playing centre half.
Yeah.
But Acevedo's nowhere near as good as him aerially.
And the thing I should have said too, Matty, Thiago Martins, did suffer an injury in that game against RSL, and he's not 100% fit. So Ronnie Deila did not want to take the chance today, and that's why there's this shuffling at the back. Samuel Owusu played 90 minutes in the New York City FC 2 match yesterday. They got their second straight win. And against Rochester, they beat the Rochester team that the senior team's going to play in the U.S. Open Cup on May 11th. So should we just
no pressure?
Should we exactly? Imagine if the senior team. Well, we won't go there yet. But so I thought maybe because of that, because Owusu is sort of leveraged too. But the move of Morales to the back and Latinovic on the bench makes it clear.
Yeah, we'll say whether it makes sense after the game as well.
Yeah.
I understand why you would move Morales there, just his experience. I'm certain he can do the job. I'm just not so sure taking away his ability in the middle of midfield, and that's nothing against Acevedo. I think Morales is a better player. You lose an awful lot moving Morales back, but obviously that's why Ronnie Deila gets paid to be the coach. He makes those decisions.
Michael Bradley leading Toronto FC out onto the pitch for their warm-up. Our airtime is 4:45 for the pregame show with Ronnie Deila on the New York City FC Network. That's upcoming. Hey, just to look ahead, New York City's next opponents, the San Jose Earthquakes at Yankee Stadium next week. They had an incredible game last night. So here's their first match after they sacked Matias Almeida. And Alex Covello, interim head coach for the second time. Christian Espinoza had 3 goals and an assist, a goal and an assist in a 45-second period. Down 3-1 to Seattle. They came back and beat the Sounders 4-3. Seattle in the midst of CONCACAF Champions League. A lot to think about for them, too. But how about that? So they may come east with a lot of confidence or something.
Some renewed confidence, that's for sure. But we see that so often anywhere around the world, that new coach bounce.
That's what you call it, the bounce. Yeah.
I think Almeida sacked himself. He didn't really want to be there, did he? And he talked about it endlessly. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did, not because he's a bad coach, but he wasn't happy there. You saw that in his body language, and I'm sure the players realised that as well. So, yes, they were coming with renewed vigour, renewed confidence in that game. Let's not dismiss this game, but yeah, that will be a great game next weekend.
All right, I wanted to share one more thing here. So the All-Star game was announced. It's going to be in Minnesota, and I wanted to play this. They put out a little promo because, and then I seek your opinion once again around MLS All-Star Week, which I am I look at everything from a sporting side. I don't want to play an All-Star game in the midst of the season. Imagine losing a player at an All-Star game, but they're playing a League MX, this relationship between MLS and League MX is very.
I shouldn't comment on this, should I?
No, you can comment as much as you want. But here, I want you, Matty Lawrence, as a retired professional, to see if you can get involved in it.
Welcome to the MLS All-Star Skills Competition. The best from MLS, the best from Liga MX. The Shooting Challenge. Cross and Volley Challenge. My goodness, that was impressive. Passing Challenge. Right off the bat. There's 3 in a row. Touch Challenge. The Crossbar Challenge. MLS on fire. First to hit the crossbar is going to win it.
I love the crossbar challenge. I got to say, you must have played that.
We did that in training all the time.
Yeah,
and it's good and it's fun in training with your mates, your colleagues, the people you work with. Yeah. I understand what it's for, to make money and be sponsored, and etc., etc. And I'll leave it at that. But I'm with you on the point of, as a manager of any of these clubs, you don't want your players going out and even the side volley. And I've seen people break their arms doing the side volley and overhead kicks. So yes, I just hope everyone's safe and doesn't get injured. That's it.
Reminds me of the home run derby for Major League Baseball All-Star, and the guys get up there and and so many guys have lost their hitting stroke after the home run derby over the years.
I can imagine, and I understand the spectacle of it from a pure sporting occasion. I won't watch it; it's a waste of time. It's meaningless. But weren't you on counterattack like the day after the game though on Sirius XMFC? I thought you were, or before, or maybe prior. I probably had to pretend I'd watched it. Yeah.
No, I think. Hey, by the way, there's a new video assistant. There's a referee and a video assistant referee we know, and here before the game, I got down on the field. So
did you get the decision right?
All decisions will go in It's penalty. Castellanos is going to have 4 penalty kicks today. to go with his 2. But the one thing about this monitor with the sunshine and everything, it's not. I don't know if they bring a shade over this, but it wasn't that easy to see. I don't know if they do something with that. We're looking down now. It looks like it's the same. But anyway, that was my go at being a VAR, looking at a logo. Penalty. Overrule. All right, Matty, let's get out of here. But we're not getting out of here. We're staying because we're going to provide you with a live commentary. Please tune in if you have a chance. New York City FC Network is nycfc.com/radio. We've got Ronnie Dyla exclusively at 4:45, where he's going to explain this lineup a little bit, where Morales is moving to the back, and it's Acevedo in the midfield because Martins is injured. So Alfredo Morales getting another. The only other time I think we've seen him at center back, he may have come in for a cameo, but it was Morales and Vuk Latinovic in Nashville last year, and it was difficult.
It was, but
that's two.
That's 2 people. Yeah,
2 inexperienced.
My only thing with Morales is I'd be worried. Well, I am a little bit worried about him playing next to a younger, inexperienced player in Tavon Gray. Obviously, if there was Tinnerholm there and Carlins either side of him, then I'd be entirely confident. It's just a slight worry, but he's good enough to do it.
What's the biggest thing? Is it the organization? Is it because to me, if you're kind of in the midfield and you just take a step back to center back, it should almost be easier. You could see more of what's going on. And he's a good defender.
But you still need to have done it repeatedly, the same as anything. But it's almost, he'll know that it's not his position. He probably won't be communicating as well because he'll be concentrating a little bit more on his own game. But I'm sure he will be fine. He's good enough. He is experienced enough. And he is vocal as well. So I'm sure it will all come together. I'm not going to write it off.
How about Alexander Collins, who was voted New York City FC Player of the Month, leads his team out of the tunnel for their warm-up. Tati Castellanos, the MLS Player of the Week. Why not? 4 goals. All right, 4:45 p.m. Eastern. That's in a few minutes, about 15 minutes or so. Thank you so much for being with us. Enjoy the game, everybody.